Hey guys, this week as we transition out of masking and go into compositing, we really want to start this off by talking about what a composite is. Basically what a composite is taking elements from different images and creating one believable image with them. So making adjustments to color, making adjustments to proportion, to size, to scale, whatever. We want to take different elements and build one believable image. And what we're going to be using as an example in class is this right here, this file, which consists of 3 layers. Our guy, which is going to be the guy walking down the road. We've got the road itself, and then we've got our background. One place to start is to choose what's called a base layer and bring the colors of the other layers up to that particular level. Once you've done that, you can go in and you can begin to kind of apply global adjustments. This is by no means the end-all be-all way to composite, but this is a way that you can go in and composite these images together. So I'm going to choose my road layer. This layer I'm going to use as a base, and I'm going to begin bringing the colors of the other 2 layers to this actual level. So one way that you can do it is I'm going to choose adjustments, and I'm going to click color balance, and with this color balance I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to begin adding what I think it needs in order to bring those colors up. So you can see that this is an adjustment that I can make. That looks pretty close. And then I'll do the same thing for the guy. Go up to color balance. I could also use photo filter or any of the other ones. This is just a quick one that I like to use. And I'm going to add, I think, a little bit of blue to this one, maybe a little yellow. So I'm going to go in and put this in a group. And right here what we have is this adjustment. This adjustment's not that big. Don't have to worry about it affecting anything else. But this color balance adjustment is not only going to affect the guy, it's going to affect the guy and everything below it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this adjustment is clipped to this specific layer. So I'm just going to hover in between these 2 layers, and I'm going to click. That's going to clip this adjustment to just this guy. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose, I can do this a couple of different ways. I could use levels and work with levels, and I could clip some of these highlights out of this. I'm going to say that my light source is coming from this direction, so I'm going to build this in, and I'm going to choose my brush, and I'm going to use my brush to basically hide this adjustment where I want it to be hidden. So let's turn that down. Paint black. And I can take my time with this, and I can just paint out where I want the light to interact with my subject. Next adjustment that I want to make is going to be to kind of add more depth to my shadows. One way that I like to do it is by adding a levels adjustment, changing the blending mode to multiply, which is going to make everything darker. I'm going to invert that mask, Command I. Using my brush tool, I'm just going to paint in where I want those shadows to be a little more intensified. So painting with white on my mask right here, I'm going to go in and I'm going to intensify those shadows. Turn my flow down a little bit. Alright, and the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start adding a couple of adjustments to just some global adjustments, just to make everything kind of start to look a little bit better. I'm going to add a new group. I'm going to say global. And then we'll drop a couple of different adjustments in here over the course of this composite, but I'm just going to kind of start off by adding a saturation, hue saturation, and I'm just going to desaturate the whole thing just a little bit. Close that up. And now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start building some detail in for the guy. So I'm going to add a group. This is going to be for the shadows. And I'm going to add a couple of different shadows. I'm going to add a cast shadow, and then I'm going to add a shadow around his shoe. Let's just add a couple of blank layers. And in the first one, I'm going to choose how I want to create this shadow. One way is to use the polygonal lasso tool and just kind of draw in a selection. I'm going to fill in that selection with black. I'm just going to use my shortcut key to fill it with the foreground color. Option delete. I'm going to deselect my selection, and then I'm just going to soften my shadow up. So I can do that through the filter, blur, and the Gaussian blur. And I can go in and I can turn that radius up, and that'll make my edge a little bit softer. And then I can control the opacity of that layer. And I'm going to add another shadow under the shoe just to add a little more depth, just by grabbing my brush tool. Still going to paint with black. So I'm just going to add some depth here, and then I'm just going to turn the opacity of that layer down. So that's looking pretty good. So without and with, that just adds some depth to it.